Why do we love femboys? A question that's been asked since the dawn of time. Many philosophers, historians, Reddit gold news generals and political leaders have all tried to ask this question. And today, I, a random bloke from Britain, is going to try and answer that question.
On Facebook thinking you're bad, mate. I'm hiding the last one of your birds.
Now, with many great philosophical questions, we must go back to the peak of philosophy, ancient Greece, when the great Plato once said this.
I'm over here stroking my dick. I got lotion on my dick right now. I'm just stroking my shit.
We see this throughout history with examples like Alexander the Great, Friedrich the Great, Edward Hadrian. All these men went to go and dominate many lands and also other men. Now, what does this have to do with femboys? Absolutely not. You see, femboys have a very long and deep history, which I, a man of limited skill set, simply just cannot answer. So I'll be handing you guys off to my local femboy correspondent, Rage Explicit.
In order to understand femboys, we need to go back a couple hundred years to the 1600s, where kabuki theatres were created and taken off as a form of Japanese theatre production. Founded by Izumo no Okami, kabuki initially included females performing as both male and female characters. However, females were banned from performing at kabukis from 1629 by the Tokugawa shogunate due to moral concerns, mainly because kabuki performers were also sex workers and women working on stage were considered immodest and had sexual connotations. But where there's a will, there's a way, and that way was the rise of the onnagata tradition. Onnagatas are male kabuki actors who chose to cross-dress and put all their skill points into charisma. Young boys who replaced female performers, and later on, adult men were specialized in the role of being an Edo period femboy. However, don't get this twisted. Onnagatas didn't try to attempt to be a realistic woman, but rather tried to create the idea of femininity through their movement, voice and posture, creating a hyper-feminine aesthetic which works for a theatre setting. Fast forward a couple of years to 1913 and you get the rise of the Takarazuka Revue, founded by Ichizo Kobayashi. Based in Takarazuka, Hyogo Prefecture, this was basically the gender flip version of a kabuki theatre, housing performers who were exclusively women and played both genders. The whole point of both a kabuki theatre and the Takarazuka Revue is that it blended gender identity and ambiguity as men and women performed the role of their gender counterpart in an aesthetical setting. By the end of the 20th century, gender-bender tropes in manga have started to catch on with manga such as Ranma Half and Stop Hibari-kun, and in the early 1990s, doujin circles started to create more feminine male characters with an influence in BL, aka yaoi, leading to the birth of the word otokonoko, used to describe a male at birth who looks, dresses and generally portrays himself in a feminine way. However, do note that they aren't trans women, nor do they identify as one, just a bunch of dudes who like to wear thigh-high socks and skirts. A few years into the 21st century and the idea of otokonoko has started to become fetishized, with the use of common tropes like school settings, maid outfits, accidental romance, and identity confusion. In 2009, the Otokonoko editing department was created, where they published fiction, makeup and fashion tools, and most importantly, gravure-style photo spreads of real-life cross-dressing models. However, do note, when I was doing my research, I couldn't find any of these magazines or anything. I mean, yeah, I wanted to, but that's beside the point. What I'm trying to say is that I couldn't find any of this, nor of the existence of the actual department, unless it was really fucking deep into the Google web search, which I couldn't be bothered to go through. So take this with a grain of salt, and also if you do find it, let everyone know, because we need that source material. Around the same time, characters such as Bridget from Guilty Gear, Hideyoshi from Bakato Test, and Felix Argyle from ReZero started to introduce the otokonoko idea to mainstream anime, which then spread to the West through message boards such as 4chan. This is where we see the term femboy to start making an appearance as a rough equivalent to otokonoko, though the two terms aren't really interchangeable. Otokonoko is rooted in Japanese aesthetic and genre, often ambiguous in identity, whilst femboy is a broader term often tied to Western LGBT+ identity and personal expression. To end this history lesson off, it's important to know that there's a difference between the fetishization of a femboy and the identity of one. Someone who identifies as a femboy is usually embracing the feminine side of them by being able to control their appearance to fit their ideal gender and being able to proudly show that off without the fear of being ostracized or considered erotic, being considered feminine but not in a submissive or sexual way. The fetishization comes from online subculture rooted with pornography and considers being a femboy a kink. That being said, is it wrong to be sexually attracted to a femboy? No. In my personal bisexual opinion. In fact, if I had a femboy in front of me, I would crack that motherfucker to the point where they get scoliosis. But just make sure you know the difference between them, yeah?
Now that Rage is done talking about his computer science degree, we must talk about, the question of the day. Why do we like femboys? We talk about their history, let's talk about them as people. Hobbies and interests. Real life femboys tend to fall into the categories of liking video games, Warhammer, computers, anime, cosplay, and a lot more other stuff. And most people out there who like this stuff want to find someone who also likes stuff that they like. Want to know who likes that stuff? Femboy. This is just a generalization, but like, it's pretty much the reason why people love them. Not just that, there's more, but like, still. And also the cosplay stuff, some femboys are very good at cosplay, like hot damn. Another reason is simply just curiosity, because like, some people are just like, huh? Femboy? What the hell is that? Huh? I like that. And this also intersects with the, femboy memes stuff, because to be honest, there is a heck of a lot of femboy memes out there. I see like 3 of them every single day just on my Instagram feed when I load it up. Another reason why people like femboys is just like authenticity. Like again with the tomboy video, but in this case, just apply it to femboys. Would you rather just be around all day, just having to act a certain way, having to dress a certain way, have to like certain things? That makes life suck. Like your own stuff, dress the way you want to, do what you want. You want to do what you want to do and feel comfortable in your own skin, because that's kind of important. A lot of the reasons why people like femboys are quite similar to why people like tomboys. They like the androgynous traits, the confidence, and the relatability. But one reason which I didn't mention earlier is actually exposure, because as times have moved on, you wouldn't really see many LGBT characters in media. Now, you can see it quite frequently. You can spot them in video games, TV shows, movies, and depending on the writers, they're genuinely pretty good characters. One of my favorite examples of this is King Yin. Although not really a femboy, the writers didn't make him being gay the entire centerpiece of his personality, which in the fighting game, personalities don't really matter, but it was mentioned once in the story mode that he was gay, and it doesn't change anything. In fact, he was positively accepted by the LGBT community who enjoyed playing fighting game, and it was pretty annoying that they didn't put him in Mortal Kombat 11 because he had some really good potential, and then Mortal Kombat rebooted itself and ruined the game. Now, as the co-writer of the hit song Master of Femboys,
girls, don't do it anymore. Boys, it's good, it's what I adore. Pussy, it's what I need. Pussy, it's what I breathe.
I think I'm partially qualified to say femboys are pretty neat.
Cheers, Jeff.
Why do we like femboys? I don't know. Anyways guys, if you enjoyed that video, check out this video here where we talk about tomboys. Anyway, subscribe to the channel.